In this video, I'm answering 5 questions on abductive reasoning. What is abductive reasoning? What are examples of abductive reasoning? What's the difference between inductive and abductive reasoning? What are the benefits of abductive reasoning and what are its weaknesses? Let's get to it. 1. What is abductive reasoning? Let me start by telling you that this morning, just 30 minutes ago, my husband and I were taking our dogs out for a walk. We were walking through the park and we saw that a tree had fallen and it lay on the path. That's the observation. So our question was, how did it get there? Well, we knew that the storm Eunice had been raging the night before, so how could the tree had gotten on the path? Well, our best explanation for why the tree had fallen was that the storm had caused it to fall. So abductive reasoning is a form of logical inference. It starts with an observation or set of observations and then seeks the simplest and most likely explanation for what we've seen. This process gives you a plausible explanation but doesn't positively verify it. So these explanations contain a remnant of uncertainty, which we express in retreat terms like best available or most likely. That's why we can understand abductive reasoning as inference to the best explanation. So, in short, abductive reasoning involves giving an explanation for the information we have. A familiar example of abduction is a detective who identifies a criminal by piecing together evidence from a crime scene. Let's take a look at some more examples. 2. What are more examples of abductive reasoning? This is my first one. Let's say you happen to know that Tim and Harry have recently had a terrible fight which ended their friendship. Now, someone tells you that she just saw Tim and Harry jogging together. The best explanation for this that you can think of is that they made up. You conclude they are friends again. In my second example, you walk along the beach and you see what looks like a picture of Winston Churchill in the sand. It could be that what you see is actually the trace of an ant crawling on the beach. The much simpler and therefore you think much better explanation is that someone intentionally drew a picture of Churchill in the sand. That, in any case, is what you come away believing. In these examples, the conclusions don't follow logically from the premises. For instance, it doesn't follow logically that Tim and Harry are friends again from the premises that they had a terrible row which ended their friendship and that they have just been seen jogging together. It doesn't even follow, we may suppose, from all the information you have about Tim and Harry. Nor do you have any useful statistical data about friendships, terrible rows, or joggers, which might warrant an inference from the information that you have about Tim and Harry to the conclusion that they are friends again, or even to the conclusion that probably, or with a certain probability, they are friends again. What leads you to the conclusion is precisely the fact that Tim and Harry's being friends again would, if true, best explain the fact that they have just been seen jogging together. A similar remark applies to my second example about Winston Churchill, and that's why this type of inference, that's why abductive reasoning is called inference to the best explanation. 3. What's the difference between inductive and abductive reasoning? Very simply put, in inductive reasoning, we most often make predictions about the future. For example, I see fireflies in my backyard every summer, so next summer I will probably see lightning bugs in my backyard again. In abductive reasoning, we do the opposite in a way. We see a certain situation now, and then we want to know what happened in the past which created the situation we have now. For example, now you have a cough, a fever of 101 degrees Fahrenheit, a runny nose, chills, and a sore throat. You've had these symptoms for 5 days. Given this information, you want to find out what created this situation. Your best guess is that you caught the influenza virus a few days earlier, or maybe the coronavirus, but you're not completely sure. While inductive reasoning requires that the evidence that might shed light on the subject be fairly complete, whether positive or negative, abductive reasoning is characterized by lack of completeness, either in the evidence or in the explanation, or both. In fact, the abductive process can be creative and intuitive. Let's say you go to a doctor and fail to report every symptom, and this results in incomplete evidence. Then, the doctor may arrive at a diagnosis which fails to explain several of the symptoms. Still, the doctor must reach the best diagnosis she can, although she'll never reach 100% certainty. 4. What are the benefits of abductive reasoning? For most scientists, abductive reasoning is a natural and instinctive process, a series of educated guesses building upon absurd phenomena and previous studies. Even young scientists use this process to design simple school experiments. For example, a pupil may have noticed that bread appears to grow mold more quickly in the bread basket than in the refrigerator. Abductive reasoning leads the young researcher to assume that temperature determines the rate of mold growth, as the hypothesis that would best fit the evidence, if true. And a researcher might observe the phenomenon of increasing levels of violence shown by children over the past few years. Further research may discover that this tends to occur more in societies where violence is prevalent on TV. Abductive reasoning would then lead the researcher to propose the most obvious hypothesis that if children are exposed to more violence on TV, they are more likely to exhibit violent behavior as adults. This process of abductive reasoning holds true for any experiment or study. Abductive thought allows researchers to maximize their time and resources by focusing on a realistic line of experimentation. Abduction is also seen much as the starting point of the research process. The goal of the research process is to give a rational explanation, and researchers allow they allow deductive reasoning. So researchers allow deductive reasoning to dictate exactly how to carry out the experiment. 5. What are the weaknesses of abductive reasoning? Abductive reasoning tries to conclude that one explanation is better than other explanations, and as a result, in abductive reasoning, there is always uncertainty. The fact we have incomplete information causes this uncertainty. Besides, since there are so many ways to explain a certain situation, this creates subjectivity because you're always more likely to provide your most favorable explanation for a certain situation. And that's why, in general, abduction makes for weak arguments. Its appeal to the best explanation is often no more than an appeal to hunch. This information came from these websites. You'll find these links below this video. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel and watch this series from the start. Next Friday, I'll be back with a new video in my series on... I'll be back with a new Q&A video. Till then, I only want to say 3 things. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye for now.